Number 11. Fish rain. In Lajamanu, Australia, a small town of 650 people was met with quite the shock when it started to rain down small fish. Fish were falling from the sky, specifically perch. Over the course of 2 days, the fish fell from the sky, some of them still alive. Not only would this be extremely strange to experience, but also, the town is quite a distance from the nearest large body of water. So naturally, when the fish started raining down, and the people started telling their friends and family what was going on, they didn't believe them. Would you? After every spurt of fish rain that happened, the people of Lajamanu had fresh fish for dinner. But what was causing this bizarre natural phenomenon? Scientists claimed that it was a tornado that picked up the perch and launched them all the way to Lajamanu. However, that doesn't make any sense. Tornadoes don't last very long, and there were none reported in the area. Apparently, fish raining from the skies is not unheard of in outback Queensland. Rains of fishes can happen more than you might think. Some people believe that it's because of flooding. Extreme flooding can create sudden rivers and tributaries. The fish swim up the rivers that then start to dry up after a storm, leaving them stranded in small puddles, making it look like they fell from the sky. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and be careful out there in case you get smacked in the face by a fish. Number 10. Pele's hair lava. Who knew that volcanoes had hair? In Hawaii, around the Kilauea volcano and throughout the nearby Ka'u Desert, there is what seems to be hair all over the ground. It looks like golden mats of stringy, wispy hair. At first, you might mistake this stuff for the loose fibers of human or animal hair. However, it's actually known as Pele's hair lava, and it's a byproduct of one of the most powerful forces on the planet. These golden strands are thin glass fibers, named after the traditional Hawaiian deity Pele, god of the volcano. But how does volcanic activity create something that looks like human hair? It happens thanks to gas that forms during a volcanic eruption. Gas bubbles near the surface of the lava flow and stretches molten lava into extremely long and very thin threads. When it dries, it looks like Rapunzel got a haircut. Some strands of Pele's hair lava can be several feet long and only a single micron thick. A micron is approximately 0.001 millimeters thick. The strands are also very light, and so they often get carried away by the wind. This means they usually collect in the same place, creating a natural phenomenon like a stack of hay, but it's really just dried lava. Number 9. Underwater crop circles. In 1995, off the coast of Japan, something mysterious was discovered underwater. They've been called underwater crop circles, and for a long time, nobody knew what they were. The circles are about 7 feet in diameter and don't look like anything made by nature. In fact, some theories even speculated that the underwater crop circles may have been made by extraterrestrial visitors. But the mystery was finally solved in 2011 when researchers witnessed an underwater crop circle being made. It turns out these circles have nothing to do with space or aliens or anything even remotely mysterious. The circles are made by male pufferfish as a way to impress female fish. In 2011, researchers watched a small group of male pufferfish create 10 underwater crop circles. Each male fish spent around 9 days building their very own crop circle by swimming in and out and in and out using their fins to dig trenches in the sand at the bottom of the ocean. 9 days! This is one of the most incredible things ever witnessed in nature. The fish created huge circles and then decorated them with shells and pieces of coral. And throughout all the digging, sand particles flowed into the middle of the circle to create a nest for the fish to mate in. To make this really simple, the pufferfish were building houses where they could entertain lady visitors. When a female pufferfish got close to the circle, the male would begin dancing around and trying to convince her to go inside. If she was impressed, the female would then go into the circle and lay her eggs in the nest in its middle. So far, this is one of the most complicated mating rituals scientists have ever seen performed by a marine animal. Number 8. Fire rainbows. Fire rainbows are a little deceiving. Not only are they not rainbows, but they are also not on fire. Instead, fire rainbows are named as such because of their incredible pastel coloring and the fact that they kind of look like flames. Technically, the proper name for a fire rainbow is a circumhorizontal arc. It's a type of ice halo formed by ice crystals in cirrus clouds high up in the atmosphere. The halo created by the ice crystals becomes so large that the arc of light looks as though to parallel the horizon. This amazing phenomenon happens primarily during the summer. When the sun is high in the sky and sunlight enters the hexagon-shaped ice crystals, it gets split into a prism of color. But this is not something most people will see in their lifetimes. The conditions needed to create a fire rainbow are very precise. The sun must be at an elevation of roughly 58 degrees, the cirrus clouds must be at a high altitude, and plate-shifted ice crystals must be present. Even more, the sunlight must enter the ice crystals at a very specific angle to create the illusion of a burning rainbow in the sky. Have you ever seen anything like this? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Striped icebergs. All throughout Antarctica, there are striped icebergs. When you think about icebergs, you probably think they're made of boring, completely white ice. But the phenomenon of stripped icebergs is something quite unique, with huge patches of ice being stripped blue, yellow, green, and dark brown. It's something that at first seems unexplainable, but the colorful stripping of Antarctic icebergs happens for a reason. Normally, the phenomenon occurs when ice freezes under a specific circumstance. For example, blue ice appears on icebergs when crevices become filled with water and freeze too fast, not allowing any air bubbles to form. Green stripes appear when water filled with algae becomes frozen, as the green color is just the algae. As for yellow and even black stripes, these are formed when sediments get frozen in the ice, usually from water floating downhill and collecting dirt as it freezes. Striped icebergs aren't that rare, but they aren't that common either. The rarest of these striped icebergs is when you have all of the colors in a single patch, looking like a dirty rainbow. Number 6. Sailing stones. Death Valley is one of the hottest and driest places on Earth. It's also the lowest elevation anywhere in North America. The valley itself is something of a phenomenon. But there is something even more incredible in the park that has fascinated visitors for centuries. The phenomenon is known as sailing stones. What are sailing stones? They are rocks that sail across the desert ground, seemingly on their own with no cause. These rocks vary in size. Some are big, some are small. They all share one similar characteristic. There is a long trail behind them, proving that they've been sailing across the desert for an unknown amount of time. Scientists first captured the sailing stones physically moving in 2014 by using time-lapse photography. Some of the rocks here have traveled at least 1,500 feet, though scientists aren't exactly sure how long a journey like that could have taken. Now for the explanation. How can a rock literally sail across the desert sands without any kind of help? According to national parks, these sailing stones probably move because of a mixture of ice, water, and wind. In winter, rain creates small puddles of water. These puddles freeze at night and thaw the following day. Between all the freezing and thawing and wind, these sailing rocks get pushed a few millimeters at a time. Number 5. Forest of Knives. In Madagascar, there is an incredible natural phenomenon known as the Forest of Knives. And yes, it's just as dangerous as the name suggests. Its proper name is Tsingy de Bimahara, and it's a protected UNESCO World Heritage Site. The forest isn't made out of trees in the traditional sense. It's instead a foundation of tall, very thin rocks that are so sharp they can cut your feet or hands if you try to climb over them. The reserve here is enormous, about 3.75 million acres of razor-sharp rocks, with some of the structures reaching 2,600 feet. It's more of a mountain than a forest, and it's home to a heap of unique wildlife not found anywhere else in the world or even in Madagascar, such as lemurs who've adapted to living inside the treacherous razor rocks. According to NASA, Tsingy de Bimahara was formed about 200 million years ago by layers of calcite at the bottom of a lagoon, creating a bed of thick limestone. The limestone was elevated during sea level rise, monsoon rains eroded the mountain of sediment, and finally, the rock towers of today were formed. You can't even scale the side of the formations here because your fingers would literally be cleaved off. Do you like to go rock climbing? Would you dare visit this place? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to Talltanic for more amazing videos. Number 4. Living rocks. Living rocks aren't exactly natural phenomenon. Well, they are and they aren't. You see, living rocks can be found off the coast of Chile and Peru. They look exactly like rocks but are living beings. The proper name for a living rock is Payura chilensis, and it's one weird critter. First of all, it has no brain or sensory organs. It feeds by filtering nutrients out of the water. It's kind of biologically similar to a sea urchin, though it has a very different evolutionary history. When cut open, it looks like a bunch of soft organs stuck inside of a rock. Maybe one of the reasons it's considered a delicacy in South America. Scientists don't know a whole lot about living rocks, other than that they almost don't make any natural sense. Each one is born male but turns into a hermaphrodite at puberty, able to breed with itself. Number 3. The green flash. If you've never seen a green sunset, also known as the green flash, you're seriously missing out. This is one of the most elusive sunsets in the world, and is a fascinating natural phenomenon. The phenomenon itself only occurs for between 1 and 2 seconds. It's very easy to miss if you're not already looking for it. In essence, the green flash is exactly what it sounds like. There is a massive flash of green light for a split second as the sun sets. According to life science, the phenomenon is caused by the refraction of light, which is of course more significant when the sun sets. As light travels through the atmosphere bends the light and separates it into a prism of color. Blue, violet, and green refract strongly, while yellow, orange, and red are absorbed. Because green is the strongest color, it's the one visible during a flash. But it can only be seen at very rare times and only when the sun is setting over the sea. Number 2. Morning glory clouds. Morning glory clouds are a rare meteorological phenomenon that scientists still don't quite understand. When the phenomenon occurs, the clouds turn into tubes, like long, stretching tubes of puffy white in the sky. From what scientists have put together so far, they believe morning glory clouds occur above Australia because of a collision between the humid air coming in from the Coral Sea and the warm air from the Gulf of Carpentaria. However, according to the Bureau of Meteorology, these colliding fronts create low-level atmospheric waves nearly a mile long. Sometimes there is a singular cloud that looks like a very long roll of white cookie dough, and sometimes there are 10 consecutive rolling clouds. Even more amazing is how fast the clouds speed across the sky. When morning glory clouds form, and it looks like there's a giant pipeline of clouds in the sky, they often speed through the atmosphere at around 24 miles an hour. Number 1. The San Andreas Fault. If you live in California, you're probably familiar with the San Andreas Fault. It's the fault line under California that will one day be responsible for the big one that scientists say is inevitable. The fault line began moving about 28 million years ago. This is the boundary between the giant Pacific tectonic plate and the North American plate. To simplify things, it's a giant crack between two of the biggest plates in the Northern Hemisphere. When the San Andreas Fault shifts become a motion between the two plates, it creates earthquakes. This huge underground phenomenon could be the death of California as we know it. As experts claim, it has the potential of causing an 8.0 magnitude earthquake, accompanied by a tsunami off the coast so big it could literally drown everyone along the California coastline. Nobody knows when the big one will happen, only that it will eventually, whether it's tomorrow or in 1,000 years. Which of these phenomena would you love to witness with your own eyes? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and come back again for another amazing video.